Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Here's Alday.
What is going on with Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano? Welcome, Islanders. Alday here to the new weekly episodic presentation for YouTube. Today we're going to talk about GL Ahsoka Tano. This is where I talk about one topic and I apply it to 3 different levels of the game. I've got my Inner Rim Initiates. You guys, 2 million or less, just started the game. Does this affect you or doesn't it? We're going to answer those questions. Then I've got my Mid-Rim Masters. You guys, maybe 5 to 8 million, been playing the game for a long time. Kind of getting the hang, you've got your start, your GLs. Does this thing change what you should do or what I would farm? The advice that maybe I would give myself if I was back then. And then I've got my Outer Rim Legends. You guys, you know who you are. You've been playing the game forever. 10 million plus. But what do I think that this topic is affecting you? And indeed me, I would say, because I guess I would fall into that. So without further ado, today we're going to talk about Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. Just come to the game about a week ago. Let's unpack it. Okay, my Inner Rim Initiates. Now, I have 2 words for you. Power creep. Now, the game has changed, and this is where, give me a second. So, a long time ago, power creep used to be huge in this game. We went from Jedi Knight Revan to Darth Revan and Malak, then we went to Gas. All of these sorts of changes where everything that was launched was infinitely better than everything that was before it. Now we're going there again. CG have been launching broken characters recently. People like Bane, who are just so good that, in GAC in particular, but they are so good they're kind of obsoleting some of the older characters. So one thing I would say to you is if you're following a guide, and hopefully you are, there's incredible guides out there, please remember that if that guide's maybe more than 6 months old, you just need to check the validity of those teams today. Is the team you're heading for or the direction you're going, has that now been obsoleted by a newer team coming along? You don't need all 280 however many characters in the game. You don't need them all. So be careful you're not doing someone or going into a place where you don't necessarily need that. So what I'd say to you is don't necessarily sleep on the newer teams. Don't completely ignore them. And there's one character I would say in particular who is GL Ahsoka Tano adjacent, shall we say. And that is Balin. Balin Skull is performing incredibly well. He's about 52% on defense, so he's defending 48% of the time battles against him in GAC across all levels. He's 86% on offense, so he's doing good work. And Balin is surprisingly accessible. You've got, so to unlock Balin, you need Shin Hati, Marek, Elspeth, and Thrawn. So to get to Thrawn, you obviously need to do your Phoenix farm, which I presume is probably one of the things you'll start with. But once you get Thrawn, don't necessarily sleep on Shin, Marek, and Elspeth. I would start farming them as well, just on the side if I've got a spare bit of Cantina, spare bit of yellow and Cantina. Elspeth, being a Cantina farm, but Shin being a main energy farm. These people, don't sleep on them. I would potentially start picking up the shards, and you'll never know. If you were to unlock Balin now in about 3 months' time, you would be doing incredibly well. You'd be blocking people. There's not that many new counters to Balin. Admittedly, we're still to see the Datacron drop off, and we'll know exactly where Balin sits, but the kit, how he's performing, he does look sort of in that space with Bo-Katan Mandalore. He does seem in a space where you'll be able to take down GLs, so don't sleep on him. And I would consider a little side farm on Shin Marek, and Elspeth. That brings me to a second team. The Great Mothers. Now, there are many new teams that are currently locked behind conquest characters that are going to be impossible for you to get at the 2 million area. But the Great Mothers are not locked behind that. You've got the Great Mothers or Cantina Farm. Elspeth we spoke about is Cantina Farm. Zombie, if you decide to put Zombie in there, is GW Store. You've got Spirit, who's in the Galactic War Store. Who else? Who else might you want to put in there? Daka is in the Cantina Store. There's many different people you'd want to put in there. Probably wouldn't put Daka in there, but you have Marin's in the Ship Store. So the Great Mother's full team is highly accessible to you, even when you're starting out. Now remember, and the reason why I'm throwing this is that CG will start giving these people priority when it comes to next events, comes to next stuff. Even when the new raid drops, you might discover this is a viable team. So I'm saying to you, those two teams in particular, the Balin one and the Mirren one, don't sleep on them. Anyway, let's get more on to the Galactic Legend itself. Let's talk to my mid-rim masters. You guys, you're 5 to 8 million. You're just started doing the harder conquest. You're probably at the end game as far as ROTE and many other things. It's all about Leia for you. For me, okay, so assuming you're not at the point where you can Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano yet, look at where you are with your Leia farm. And Leia appears to be the hard counter for GL Ahsoka Tano at the moment. Seems to be performing the way that Leia's prevention of cooldown manipulation works is directly opposite to Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. We'll talk a little bit more about Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano when we get to our Outer Rim Legends, but to you mid-rim masters, please consider where you are with Leia, because that's going to determine what I think you should do. The other thing I think you should look at is Darkside Rey. So what I think you need to look at is it's all about conquest. You've got to hit this conquest hard. You've got to get that Darkside Rey, and you've got to put in an extra refresh or two, or look up an extra guide or two, or put your efforts into just maybe trying to get a few more banners out of this conquest. Every conquest you do, you're going to get Darkside Rey earlier. I presume you probably already have SLKR, you probably have the full functioning team. When Darkside Rey launches, you're going to have this added massive arsenal. Now, it is possible that GL Ahsoka Tano can beat Darkside Rey, but it is possible we are creating a rock, paper, scissors meta of those three: Leia, Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, and SLKR. We might be creating that sort of space. So I do think Darkside Rey is where you guys need to go. Now, by doing Conquest, all I'm talking about is make sure you get a soft farm on the Great Mothers. Make sure you got a soft farm on Enoch. What else? The other counter that I've started to kind of see out there, Lord Vader. Lord Vader with Maul. Now, this is where you need to really look and talk to you about your own roster, but Maul is obviously a conquest character. I don't know where you are with Maul, but if you're close on Maul, or if you have Maul, then Lord Vader is also going to be possibly a decent counter to GL Ahsoka Tano, but we will talk about that in a minute. If you don't have Lord Vader, I wouldn't start farming him. I would just ignore him completely. Keep working in your Maul. There is a likelihood we're going to get a Bad Batch Hyperdrive bundle. The way or the order the Hyperdrive bundles have been coming out, it only looks to me a matter of time before we get a Bad Batch one. So I wouldn't start farming the Bad Batch. There's too many Kairos in there. They're not a good team. Expend from the amount of resources you need to spend on them to be able to unlock them. So hang fire on Lord Vader if you've not already done the farm on Bad Batch. If you have, well, congratulations, you might have another counter, a more softer one for GL Ahsoka Tano. But look at your Rey. Look at your Rey, look at your Conquest, and consider moving for Leia as your next GL. That's for my mid-rim masters. Now over to my outer rim legends. You guys, we've been playing the game forever. You've probably unlocked Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. Let me give you a bit of a fact here. About 7 times more people unlocked Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano than unlocked Leia on day 1 to 5. Why was that? Well, the thing is that GL Ahsoka Tano was a very protracted launch. It gave us an extra 3 months worth of farming, of updating. So actually, in the end, you didn't need to wail on any of the characters. You only need to wail on the last 3 or 4. So, and with the new system of marquees, if you happen to hit a 330 or you happen to hit something, it got even cheaper. So the first thing I'm going to say about Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano for the Outer Rim Legends is this will be a lot more prevalent than any other GL we've ever had launched. In fact, we're in the middle of a GAC. A lot of you are already telling me you're facing it, and 4 in your bracket have got it. That's because it's incredibly common. Over 3,000, almost 4,000 people have unlocked GL Ahsoka Tano at the moment, and there's only 12 to 1,300 in Kyber 1. So these characters are spread into Kyber 2, and you will see them in Kyber 2, you will see them in Kyber 3. So GL Ahsoka Tano, let me give you a little bit. So people were going to stick it on defense, because that's what you always do when you unlock a new thing. Stick it on defense, someone else's problem, they can deal with it. If you're doing that, do me one favor. Speed up your Ezra Exile. The team doesn't get going until Ezra Exile starts with these exiling. So if you're going to stick it on defense, people talk to me, oh, how should I mod my GL Ahsoka Tano? I don't really care. What I care about is that your Ezra Exile is as fast as possible. That will shut down any potential Maul, and it will, so you won't have Maul-Delorians beating you, but that is the fuel that will start the team, so please speed that up. I said it would start on offense, Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. I actually think Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano will actually then move to offense. For one real reason. This Galactic Legend seems to be highly flexible, shall I say. It seems to beat a lot of... It's very similar to Leia when Leia was launched, where it seems to beat an awful lot of things on offense. So I think in time we'll start to see Ahsoka Tano move to the offensive side and possibly be the automatic counter to SLKR and Darkside Rey when that ends up on defense. But that is just guessing at this point. The way the team works is essentially you get 2 people that are tanky. Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano is a terrible tank. She's not... Her taunt is a bit meh, but if you can get round that taunt, then you've got 3 very squishy damage dealers behind her. So you basically have got the 2 team, and then you've got 3 squishy damage dealers. If you start taking out the damage dealers, then you're fine. So that's kind of how to face it, but for that reason, I think that the AI will play it very poorly. I think you want to be in charge of your Galactic Legend. I think you're better off having it on offense. I think stick it on defense for this season, but I think pull it onto offense as quickly as possible. Probably the next set of 5s will probably run through 3s with it still sitting on offense, but we'll see what the Datacrons do to things, and then I think it will move into offense, where you'll be in charge of protecting those damage dealers, protecting the squishy ones, making sure the right character gets exiled, and all the other things. So I think due to flexibility, I think better on offense in the long term. The other thing I would say is that don't sleep on Lord Vader on offense. Lord Vader with Maul does seem to do relatively well against Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. Like I say, it can go around the taunt with Maul. You are able potentially to strip taunts or get rid of taunts. So I think that is another potential thing. So I think we'll see in GAC, I think we'll see Leia, Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, and Lord Vader probably move to offense. And I think we'll see a switch to a more offensive GAC in particular, because Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano will counter GMK on defense. So I think we'll now discover that very little GLs are going to be effective on defense. So I think we'll go back to a meta where people are trying to score, everyone full clears everything, everyone scores high banners, and it comes down now more to ships. So get your punishing one, work on your ships, practice those. I think that's where we'll see it in the future. Anyway, that was for my Outer Rim Legends. You guys have been incredible. Thank you for being part of this. I hope you've learned something. I hope you've had something that sparked you and went, hang on, I never thought of that. If you have, stick it down below. If you disagree, stick it down below. Till then, like and subscribe. Good night.